Tonight we're honoring the heartbeat of Bahamian music, the artists who've moved us, molded our sound, and made us proud to be Bahamian. The Keep the Vibes Alive team is back with another cultural celebration, the legends of Rake and Scrape. With us tonight, three legends in their own right, KB, D-Mac, and Sweet Emily, sharing their stories, their legacies, and what we can expect when the stage lights hit on May 10th. Welcome to On the Record. I'm your host, Jerome Sawyer. Our show gets started on the other side of this break. Well, our first guest tonight is no stranger to this desk with a voice, wit, and catalog that has shaped the sound of a generation. Tonight, we are pleased to welcome Kirkland, KB, Bodie. KB, welcome back to the show.
Thank you very much for inviting me, Jerome.
Good to have you with us. Listen, if you all only know the discussion we had before we get on here.
A lot of trouble.
But, you know, again, we are here to talk about the legends of Rake and Scrape in this event. How did you get involved, and why was it important for you, particularly when we talk about Rake and Scrape? And we'll get into the old Rake and Scrape, the resurgence of Rake and Scrape for me.
Growing up in music, I always saw guys like Bob Marley, saw the rock and roll guys, but Bob Marley, just because he's in the Caribbean, and you saw how Jamaicans would react to when they heard something Bob did, or Three Little Birds, Who the Cap Fit. I wanted that for us. So when Ronnie was around, or Eddie Minnis, or these guys, you wanted to make sure that we want to stand up, and that's what the legends of Rake and Scrape means. Those guys whose shoulders we stood on, and Mr. Les Turnquist just came up with a great idea to say, hey, let's celebrate Legends of Rake. I thought it was just an excellent idea. And then you would show those, you give credence and credit to those who've led the way, especially guys even like those who've passed, like Elon Moxie, and because he would have been there.
Sure, yeah.
Of course, he's one of those. So it was just a great idea, man. And listen, I look forward to, again, taking this music and this culture on, because it represents the Bahamas, and the Bahamas is number one to me.
There was a time in our music scene when it seemed people didn't play, didn't recognize, gave no real recognition to Rake and Scrape. But I see that's changed phenomenally.
We're tapping into us again. We're finding and when I say this now, we're talking about the young people. We're not even talking about the older ones.
Yeah.
We're speaking to the young people.
It's kind of a renaissance with our young people.
Yes, and you'll have kids of like that. You have like yesterday I was somewhere and the lady said, "Hey, you know KB?" These two young kids, probably like 7, 8, and they're young KB. So the thing they said, yes, now they know me through Boatman.
You're right.
Now, that was something for these little kids, because I would usually have to say, you call all my songs, you call all these songs, she fat, all of me, blah, 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 blah. They don't know nothing about that. But when you say Boatman, they can connect, and that's important, and that helps all the other music to come into the fore with our kids. So it's great. We have younger artists that are coming up. They're going to be legends one day. So I think this is a good precedence to set.
What does it mean to be recognized as a legend in Bahamian music?
You know what? Most people who know me know I'm very... I don't get, my head don't get swell. I try not to get all flustered, but it's great to know that your country represent, they recognize. Just like seeing Buddy the other night doing what he does, and then Buddy calls it 8 Mile Rock. He didn't say Bahamas
only.
Shiver.
That went through you.
You understand? Yeah, and so that's how I feel, and I can see the appreciation in the Bahamians' eyes. I don't, even to you, let's say I see you and I know you're a big timer, I know you're important to this country. I know you're the KB of the news.
I like that.
but you know what I'm saying to you. To see someone like you, because I know how you carry yourself. I know you. Come on. So even for you giving the love and the appreciation, I know that we're getting somewhere. I know that we're doing something. There's still a lot more to be done that we can take this to where we need to take it. But we are on a good footing right now. Thanks to Keep the Vibe Alive Music Group and others in the music industry. So we're gonna get there if we stick to our guns. Do we need to do along with the government and private sector?
Are these types of events though important to that? Because it's one thing to hear music on the radio or to play it in your personal space, but do concerts and events help to, I guess, energize the music industry?
Yeah, because when you see, you'll see a song, like someone sings a song, like say Gino sings or D-Mac, OM, but when you heard it on the radio, but when you see it live and then they present it a different way, like a lot of people say about my music, like you maybe hear Bush Mechanic on the radio, but when you come to the show and you get Bush Mechanic, you get a different twist on it, because you can actually bring this to the people who have heard it on the radio, but now they see it in a different light. You're actually doing something. Whatever. I don't want to move too much behind.
Literally, people go away and they start listening to that because they remembered what they heard or saw at the concert, and now, hey, let me find that song again, because you have that connection with it.
Oh man, crazy! Like especially with a song like Boatman or Bush Mechanic. Right now, I was getting a resurgence. Now I'm speaking. A couple of years ago, She Fought got a resurgence. Now you know how old those songs.
Let me tell you how old. Just because She Fought it. When I was in college. A freshman in college, I buy the cassette.
Whoa.
I still have that.
She fought with the question mark on it.
You can't even find cassette players now, but I still have. That's how I was a freshman in college.
Yes.
So
but what it does, like you say again, these resurgence. Oh, heaven knows is getting resurgence,
right.
And that is what's important. So people go back right now on like Spotify. Boatman this is my first song that I've ever seen on Spotify that's getting numbers that Spotify is reaching out to me and saying, KB, you just did this, da. Because usually there are other songs where, you got some play, but this one is actually because, worldwide people are tapping into the song. Not only just in the Bahamas, worldwide they're tapping in. And that's important.
What message do you hope that this event sends to young Bahamian artists?
Of course, that one day they can be on that stage. One day and that's all I want for them, I want them to say that KB handles himself this way. Like, watch how these other artists carry themselves, and one day I can be on that stage. Once you work hard, dedication, sacrifice, just like where you are. You're not here because someone gave this to you. And I know you, I've known you, I've watched you through the years. You worked your way through sacrifice and hard work, and that's what's needed in the industry and anything you do. Some people may come into this country and get a easy way out.
Sure.
There's some people that come in here, we give them contracts to do it, but they're Bahamians on the ground that actually work hard and can do it if you just give them the chance and the opportunity.
Let's talk a little bit, though, about the state of Bahamian music and the Bahamian music industry and where we're at. And, over the years, I've talked to you about it. I've heard others talk to you about it. But every time I turn around, there's another Bahamian music concert. There's some, and people are excited about it. Is that indicative of where the music industry is going?
Oh, well, we just did the show before. We did the KB and Friends, the Boatman show. It was crazy. Most people didn't. I was actually in the parking lot. I went in early. I didn't want anyone, see me. So I went in.
You didn't come in the big Lambo with the
listen,
people
I don't. I think for me, right? I think when you do that, because I think with Bahamian music, you're supposed to play yourself as a down-to-earth guy, just like what Bob Marley did for reggae. You played yourself as I'm one of you. And that's what Bahamian music, I'm one of you.
Let me tell you, that's what Bahamians want of other Bahamians, regardless of what they do. We are not starstruck. And we are not into celebrity status.
No. Michael could have walked down the road.
That's the truth. And we're not interested in people who act like stars.
And so when you show you're one of us, we appreciate you. And don't get me wrong, Bahamians wake up to you. KB, we got it. I get almost every day of my life I get this. Like people see me, like I'll be in the supermarket. They KB here. He's there. And they'll say, KB,
you standing on the line?
Yes. Yeah. Because I'm from Jonestown, 8 Mile. I know I'm from there. Don't get me wrong. Just like your intelligence and what you do and what you've accomplished don't mean that you're not a Bahamian. That don't mean that you don't stand there with the others, Now, you know who you are, that you can be intelligent, you learn, you try your best to become more. But that don't mean you have to be arrogant and, and then that don't mean you have to disrespect me either. Like, but we be, hey, KB, come here. Come here. Yeah. Oh, you come here. and that ain't starting. That's a Bahamian thing.
back to our question on the industry, but where do you, how would you assess the industry right now, the music
Right
industry?
now, the industry, the industry is just like, let's say if we go from 1 to 10, the industry is right now in the 8s. Right now, I'm talking about where artists who are just coming in the industry, you've done some good music happening, you're making some good money, you're getting a lot of shows, because you remember we have a lot of homecomings, a lot of regattas, a lot of things are going on. So in fact, I always use it, we should be the country of festivals if we would only put that idea together. But
true.
back to that, these artists like who are just starting out in the business are making a good form of money. The only thing is, I would say to them is, take the sacrifice of quitting that day job and going full-fledged into music, because the money is there. No, listen.
But why? Why? That's a huge risk.
You know why?
Yeah.
Okay.
When I say huge, a risk for people, as individuals, we are reared to get that paycheck. When we say you got to get that job, you need that, you need to get paid. But why do you say to them, take that risk?
Okay, let's say this. Firstly, when I was 18, 19, I took the risk. And it paid. I didn't see it. I would not have seen it, but I know what I wanted. But it paid off. And I had like 2 jobs in my whole life, from 18 to 19, somewhere in there. Joined the band, Ego Trip Band in Grand Bahama. And from that point on, like about a few years, you go through your this and that. Because you got to still get there. But then when She Fought hit, remember I had Juicy Susie before She Fought.
Yeah.
Susie hit, She Fought went boom.
Yep.
And I never looked back again. So it pays off. It pays off. You just have to take the risk. Like what you said, without risk, you get no reward. And I'm saying real reward, because you can pick pennies. Like I said, you can do these. But when you want that real reward, that, let's say they call you tomorrow, we need you in Japan. You have to tell them, we need you, we want you here for 6 months, touring Asia. What do?
You can't tell the boss I need 6 months off.
That's the point. So you have to put yourself in that position if you truly want it. It's a sacrifice. Remember, I always use this word, sacrifice.
Sacrifice, yeah.
But leave the children with her, and or if you're a her, leave the children with him. And you do what you got to do. So, but I appreciate these questions you're asking, because I think these are questions that the younger artists and those who are coming up need to know. And those in school, again, let me say this.
Yeah.
To Rake and Scrape Festival, you see kids scraping that saw. You see kids hitting that goat skin. You see kids picking up the accordion. And so these, you understand? It's happening, and it's coming from the root up. And it's really glorious to see, man.
Beyond that, how do we then make it, how do we create the foundation and the platform for our artists, for those who want to leave that full-time job, to be able to have then some level of stability? Because I know it's not easy.
No, it's not
when
easy.
you walk into a bank, or you want to do something, or you want to finance something, say, oh, you're an artist?
I want you to know, the same thing we go through here, like what you just said, is the same thing the United States artists, and the same thing in Britain, the same. Now, some countries may be more, like Switzerland or those socialist countries may be a little more different. But Americans go through the same thing. Most of those artists you see with the big car, especially back in their Rap City or these cars, they give them cars right back in people when the rap finish. Okay, go home and remember that story with New Edition? Yeah. They showed you they've been on tour. Their song is the biggest song.
Electricity was off when they came home.
So it is what it is. I'm saying you also have to know, because they were kids, but you also know how to have to handle your business. You can't live beyond your means also, because you take your time to grow. It isn't an overnight thing, but you can grow into it. There's a lot of artists who I would say are doing a great job. I'll say someone like Shine is doing a great job at managing what he does, his life, and finding that, and then he still shows you a sophisticated guy who looks presentable to his audience.
So, and here's another thing that I have to ask: the importance of the quality of music.
Of course.
Because some artists, or some things I hear, and I think you make this in the studio last night.
Okay. On the real, as with anything, in America every day there's probably maybe say 3,000-4,000 songs created daily.
Sure.
And when you weed out everything, maybe 1 or 2 may be played in the coming months. So it is. It's just that in our market we have a smaller, so we may have.
Make it to the radio.
You understand? No, but we can make it to the radio because we know so and so. Hey Jerome, come on, Jerome.
Play this for me.
Jerome, play. So that's the difference between us and them. So it is. Listen, I'm just giving. It is the same thing in every country. The same thing happens. It's just that smaller countries, we know people. Okay, think about this, Jerome. In what country you can walk up to the prime minister and shake his hand?
Very few. Without getting tackled? Yeah.
You understand? So we are different as a country because we are, so we can walk up to certain people, MPs, you can't walk up to Rubio or Trump this thing. So that's what I mean. So we're just different in a way, just the same thing with the music. So we'll let some garbage get through because it is what it is. I know so and so, but you owe me some money.
Yeah, play this thing for me.
It is what it is.
Before we're almost out of time, but what can audiences expect from your performance on May 10th? You tell me I shouldn't ask you that, but I asked you anyway.
Let me give you my stock answer. No, listen, the KB, expect anything to happen because when I go on that stage, I just go there to have a great time. Make sure the audience is enjoying themselves. Make sure that I'm trying to give them the best experience they can have out of me. I try to come up with new vibes and to whatever. If I just did the Shifat again, try to do it a different way. Whatever. But we still got where people are crazy about the Boatman song.
I tell you, but listen, if you don't sing that, don't come. No, I can tell you.
Can I say this? In the Boatman show, I forgot to do Bush Mechanic. They must have killed me. and I record
you're getting old, you're right to start.
I record that one. But it is so for the show, listen, it's going to be a marvelous show. We're going to have this singing bishop there. So of course that's going to be a different. Again, here's a rake and scrape man, and that's what I want to say. Cat Island has been very important.
Oh yes,
to this. And that's something, we got the Prime Minister from Cat Island. We got Mr. Pintard being the Cat Island man. So Cat Island is really...
Listen.
Cat Island is really...
Cat Island in the swing right about now.
Man.
Definitely. KB, listen, thank you so
very much, man.
We could talk for hours and hours with all kinds of things. And listen, we have some hot topics. I can bring you back just to talk.
Please, man.
No hot music.
Please. Please cost my visa get changed.
May 10th, looking forward to the show. Thank you very much. Keep up the great work, man.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Bahamas. Thank you.
All right. Up next, we sit down with another powerhouse, Dillion McKenzie. This is On the Record. We'll be back right after this. Yes, sir. Give us. He's a staple in every rake and scrape playlist with his infamous melodies echoing through generations. We are pleased to welcome Dillion McKenzie. D-Mac, welcome back to On the Record.
Hey Jerome, nice to be here. Hey Bahamas, what's going on?
Listen, we are at the point of another Keep the Vibe Alive event.
Yes.
How is it that these events continue to be so popular and so successful?
I mean, it's because of the people. We have for far too long had this notion that only the foreigners could draw a crowd, or Bahamian people aren't willing to pay to get into an event. But now we're dispelling that myth with this Keep the Vibe Alive series, because now we're seeing Bahamians who are hungry for this entertainment. Anytime it comes up, they're looking forward to it. And not only that, when you see these type of events, not that it's just because it's Keep the Vibe Alive, it's that that there are different offerings in terms of every particular concert is different. So none is the same. This one is the legends of Rake and Scrape, paying respect to all the legends. You've had the best of the best before, prior, but now this one is actually all the legends.
So brings me to my next question. What was your reaction when you heard you were being honored as a legend? Now, what do you mean to say you're a legend, you're old?
Hey, watch the move.
I just say what people are saying. No, but honestly, what was your reaction?
Man, when I got the call from Lester and Quest, I was surprised, of course. And then I said, man, Les, no, you think so? And he said, yeah, man, you are a legend. And we spoke about the fact that I have been in this business and in this era since around the Ronnie Butler time. When that Ronnie Butler transition was coming through, that's when I actually came into the game.
That's significant.
And so I would have been around, and I've actually recorded, if not all, most of the legends that are actually on this show. Record, written music with, and all the like.
Mm-hmm. What have been some of your proudest musical moments so far?
Proudest musical moments, wow. Winning the Icon Awards would be definitely one of them. In my musical career, I would have to say too, when we won the Commonwealth Song Competition, that was a huge thing for us. Myself and my brother Kevin, we had won it locally, then we won it regionally, then we won it in the entire Commonwealth. We were able to travel to Zimbabwe to perform this song, and so I think that was some of the greatest moments, because that particular time when we traveled into Africa, we were able to, of our prize money, we started the recording studio, Commonwealth Recording Studio, off the prize money. And so I think that would probably be the greatest moment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And to have your music recognized globally, to stand head and shoulders with other artists in the Commonwealth of Nations and to emerge victorious is significant.
Yeah, it is almost that feeling of, I can only imagine how the Golden Girls felt and the guys felt when they won that gold, Olympic gold, with so many countries and vying for this particular first place, and they're coming out victorious. And now when you look at the Bahamas in terms of this song competition, which was it around the Commonwealth, the Caribbean, and then the Commonwealth, and then when you look at Bahamas emerging victorious, it's like, man, we won a medal, we won that gold. And then to be able to be afforded to go to travel into Africa to get those different experiences, and for the people and to get that change of environment. I mean, we actually went into safari and we went into the wild, and you got to see how people lived in that particular area of the world. It's an amazing feeling.
Changes your perspective, eh?
Yeah, it does.
How important are events like this Rake and Scrape Legends to the preservation of our culture?
We need this more than ever now, because we are in so much competition daily from other genres of music daily. I'm talking every day there's a new genre coming out, there's a new something that we adapt to. And here in the Bahamas, we're so close to the United States, and we got this, we got social media and all these other things. There's so much influence and exposure around. We need to make sure that we solidify this. We see it in, somebody had called me the other day, and we spoke about Junior Junkanoo and how they have the little kids and thing coming up. And so now we see where the evolution of our music and the preservation of the culture is going on, and now we need to transfer that into our music. We have little bands like the Rake and Scrape bands, the young kids from, I think, I can't remember what it is, but I know we have two groups in particular, the younger persons playing Rake and Scrape, full Rake and Scrape. And so for me saying that, I know that we are kind of headed in the right direction, but we need even more, even from a musical standpoint. Now we have persons like Iron Store coming out. We have persons like Shine 242 coming out. Persons like Desiree, my daughter, coming out. Carrington, McKenzie coming out. And so when you see these younger persons gravitating to the authentic now, we're talking Rake and Scrape. We're not talking the fusion. We're not talking these other genres of music. When you see them having a love for it and having a passion for it and moving forward, it does my heart well. And now we understand that we are moving towards preserving what is Bahamian culture.
When we talk about preservation, do we need to, as a country, look at incorporating and inculcating Rake and Scrape more into the curriculum for our children and our students to learn more about it, its origins, why it makes us so Bahamian?
That's a great question. Not only that, I think in our curriculum, we need everything Bahamian. We need to know who we are. I think part of our problem as Bahamians is we don't really have our identity. Our identity isn't intact. We look at history, we look at the pirates, we see all of these different things when we study in school, but we really don't know, hey, look here.
Which period is us?
Yeah, we need to see where we fit into that.
Yeah, where do we fit in?
To make us a proud people. I think that too lends to our self-esteem as a nation, as to who we are. And I spoke about the Olympics, and if you look per capita, how many persons that we have per capita that are way up there in life, in terms of
medals. Yeah.
Medals. We have the surgeon, that amazing surgeon doing stuff. We have, when you talk about scholars, Rhodes Scholars, we have them per capita. When you look at the amount of
We have an
persons,
astronaut.
there you go. So these things are the things I think they need to be implemented into our schools. I don't understand why it hasn't been done as yet. But all governments need to really look into that. And if you're looking at a campaign thing and you're looking at something, you want to make sure that our people know who we are. So putting these things into the curriculum and bringing culture into the schools is we need that. We need it right away.
Are our local artists getting the respect and support that they deserve here at home? I know at one time it was a major issue. I would hear artists talking about how they would, many things were happening. But are they getting the respect they deserve? Are you all?
So we talk about respect and support, right? So there's two different things.
Sure.
Okay, so when you talk about the support, I think now we're garnering that support. It's just sad that it would seem like every 10 years somebody chooses to bring another, for lack of better words or lack of analogy, we bring the lionfish back. A lionfish always comes,
the invasive
predatory.
Species.
They come in there, invasive species. They just take over. And it would seem like we allow that to happen every few years, where we fight so hard to get it at a level, and then something else comes in and tries to take it back. No pun intended. Like we have soca artists. Yes, the other years we started to bring carnival here. Nothing against carnival, nothing against Trinidad. In fact, I those particular people I emulate because they have an industry that is thriving, and as well as the reggae industry. So nothing against that. But I'm just saying.
But it dilutes.
It does. It does dilute.
And what it is that you
so
want
we get the support. And then that's diluted because after a few years something else happens. So for a series like what Keep the Vibes Alive is doing, for stuff like the regattas and for stuff like the homecomings, where we see now, if you have been looking over the last few years, the homecomings and the regattas have been absolutely amazing.
You all are busy.
Yeah. And so when you look at that and you see that's 100% Bahamian music, and those younger persons, they are actually, we call it vibing. So they're vibing to the music, they're having a great time to it. So it says too now that, this argument that we've been having from time immemorial about Bahamian music, that's a myth. Because people do want it. They want to hear it happen. But we need to make it happen. We need to really push more and push more and push more.
Are these, you talk about the regattas and the festivals and the constant, use of Bahamian artists. Those coupled with events like this, would you say that these are helping to really promote the music and to create that pride and that yearning for Bahamian music? I go to parties now and I hear more and more Bahamian music being played by DJs.
Most definitely.
Not that I go to a lot of parties, I just want to clarify that.
Okay. That's what he said. Yeah, all right,
the production team is laughing in the back. Anyway, go ahead.
We're garnering that support, and the DJs are loving it even more. I think what's changing now too is because of the technology, our sound and our sonic is changing, so we're getting better quality music. I think some of the writing is changing now, where we're getting better quality of writing into our music. And like I said before, we're talking about the younger persons that are incorporating them, getting more into the music. I see a lot of that happening. What is really now evident, what is being shown, is that if you're talking about surviving in music industry in the Bahamas, I gotta be honest with you, if you ain't doing Raken's Great, you ain't making no money.
Really?
Yeah, that's the truth. Anybody telling me, if you do, I'm not talking outside of the Bahamas, I'm talking down here in the Bahamas. Now, if you're doing the jazz bar, if you're inside Bahama and those type of things, yeah, you're doing some stuff if you're doing those type of things. But realistically, if you're not on what we call the circuit, when you're touring into the various family islands, then you really ain't into the money-making side of it when you look at doing Bahamian music. So I am encouraged when I see this, because it does now set the tier landscape, where we have the A, the B, the C, and those artists that are coming up. I see that happening now in this particular industry, where if you ain't bringing in what you need to bring to the table, then you're not getting hired. So people would ask, how come D-Mac getting hired? He on this show, he on the next show, he on another show. Well, I don't call anybody to hire me, so it would tell
They're calling you.
They're calling me, so it then says, okay, well, this is a person that is highly requested. I'm in the conversation.
You understand it. I mean, it is what it is. You understand it.
In the conversations. And so it would, for those younger ones that want to come up now, we see them working hard and pushing into the music, and they're asking, you know, they talk, I always say this baton thing, but I tell them, you know, baton now and over, because I never had none. So we just need to be able to work together to build the industry. But I see the younger people now, they're coming up, they're asking questions, they're really paying attention to what we do. And now we have, when I see regattas and homecomings hiring persons, I see them hiring a B-tier and a C-tier artist, meaning that someday that C-tier artist is going to become B, and then it's going to be A
category,
right? And so, and that's what's good and refreshing for the industry.
How do you see your legacy continuing beyond your music?
My legacy will continue on through my music, through what I'm leaving behind. But not only that, my legacy is continuing because I mean, if you look into me, Dillion McKenzie, all of my kids are in the music. My eldest daughter is a lawyer, but all of my other kids, they are into music. I got two sons, one son producing. I got one son who's in Miami currently right now, who's pursuing his music career. My daughter is doing music full time as well, my youngest daughter. I have nephews that are in Carrington that is singing. And all of them, we were talking from influences. So Kevin actually was a part of my influence that he left behind the legacy, and I'm passing that on to my family. And not only that, is any one of those younger persons and if you would talk to them, they would understand that I'm that go-to person whenever they have a question to ask. So
I've heard artists say that you are the go-to all the time.
They call me for any particular thing, and I'm there. I'm open all the time to have that communication.
All right, we're just about out of time. What can we expect to see from you on stage on May 10th?
This is a new thing on May 10th for me. So when I say new thing, I'm performing. We're talking about a legend show. So what you're going to experience from the D-Mac show is songs that I have actually written that persons probably never knew that were #1 hits in this country that I am going to be performing there on the Legends concert. So it's going to be a series of those songs that you're going to hear. You're going to be like, whoa, I didn't know he wrote this song. I didn't know he produced this particular song. And so that's, for me, that's the change. And that's something exciting for me. We've been rehearsing, myself with the Spang and the Spang Band. We've been rehearsing, we've been going over this thing just to make sure that we will execute this to a T. So what folks are going to expect out of me, it's going to be the regular D-Mac full energy show. It's going to be power packed, but it's also going to be, we're going to take a little walk into history, and we're going to see where the legacy is, and you're going to see why folks would call me a legend.
Interesting. I got to ask you this because people always ask me this. You still get nervous? You still get butterflies when you go on stage, or is it just
not anymore? It used to be like that.
Yeah.
Nah, no. I'll tell you this before I get on stage. I'm prayerful. I take my time. I reflect. I don't pay attention to what's out there. I just make sure, have direct communication with my Father. And then when I open my eyes and get on the stage, it's just pure fire. When people see me off stage, they say, I was at a place and the lady said, "You see the man walking there? Don't mind him. You see him walking like that? Don't mind him. He's carrying on bad."
Energy.
Yeah, so he's carrying on bad. Yeah. So that's how it is for me. I like to be reserved. I like to be humble before I get on stage, and when I get there, it's just unleash the animal.
Yeah. No, I gotta be prayerful before I get tried. My team in the back going, he need to pray before.
Yeah.
Why? Be prayerful. D-Mac, thank you. Listen. Keep up the great work. We appreciate you. I mean, you talked about your legacy, but your work throughout this industry and throughout this country, I think, is unknown in so many ways because people don't know how much you've done, how many you've helped, and you poured yourself into.
Yeah.
And that's sometimes a part of just being great. You don't need to sing about everything or no pun intended, or celebrate everything you do.
Yeah.
But your work is living on through so many.
I think in time. As history is told,
sure.
I think in time,
you're still in the game. You gotta. When you're moving off the stage, I think that's when people really begin to recognize more and more. But listen, keep up the great work. We appreciate you.
Thank you so much, Jerome.
Looking forward to May 10th. Stay ahead. Stay with us. The woman who has become synonymous with sweetness, soul, and strength in Bahamian music. I did not write that. Sweet Emily is here, but it's all true. Stay with us. We'll be back right after this. I'm looking forward to seeing her. From love songs to anthems of empowerment, Sweet Emily Williams has carved out a legendary path, not just for herself, but for the women behind her. Tonight, we are pleased to welcome Sweet Emily, lovingly known, well, they say, anyway, I coming off of that. I can't even listen, we got so many jokes the other day. As I was going to the break, I got to read this, and the woman who has become synonymous with sweetness, soul, and straight in Bahamian music. I got to thank my producer for writing that.
She's smart.
Yeah, no, she got you down. How you been?
I've been good, man. I've been good. I look good.
Yeah, look
all
good.
Right, I've been exactly how I look. God is good. I've been good.
Amen for that. You know, we go way back. I told them when you get in there now, it could be a thing. We about to talk. So first of all, what does it feel like being a part of the legends of Rake and Scrape? What does that mean to you?
It means a lot to me, and as a female who's been in the business for so long,
making me feel old.
Lord. Like me and Jerome, you know.
Yeah, I know.
We all live in as young as we used to be.
Open that door.
No, man, but we still look good. And we still look relatively young.
Definitely.
But it feels wonderful to be in a position that I find myself in. Not only I look at myself as a bridge in the business. I always look at myself more as a person in the forefront, representing the females in the business and representing the Bahamian woman. So to me, being on this show, Veronica and I are the only two female legends in this country at the level at which we are. I mean, still relevant, still on the scene, still up there doing the shows. You would see us pretty much everywhere. You know, there are other females who are doing stuff as well, but they've not. You know, you can't consider everybody a legend.
Sure.
But to be a legend and to be on this show, it's a privilege.
You really earned your stripes.
And it feels good.
Yeah.
It really feels good.
How did you first get involved with this particular celebration? How did you...
You mean with music?
Yeah. No. With this particular honoring and celebration with the Keep the Vibe Alive crew. How did you...
Well, everybody who knows it's no secret. Les Turnquest, who was actually the executive producer or the person in charge of Keep the Vibe Alive, he used to be my manager. He was the person who was responsible for who Sweet Emily is today. I did my first album. He produced it. And in the process of that, we had some falling out, some financial falling out, some things we didn't agree on. And we hadn't spoken in years. And he called me, I think last year. Well, he called me some years back to get some of my CDs, and I was able to help him with some of that. But I'm talking about working along with him. Sure. I had sworn that I was never going to work with him again, because that's where I was at, you know. And then I spoke with Ray, I think early in the year, and we had the conversation again, and Ray was like, sometimes there's some things you have to let go. And no matter what has happened, there's your side, there's his side. But at the end of the day, you are an artist who deserve to be on whatever we are doing. And I remember the best of the best, they just finished the best of the best last year. And there were persons who were asking, how come you could have the best of the best and no Sweet Emily? And so I prayed about it. And then in my own way, I believe that God was saying to me, time to just let that go. And I still didn't let it go. I thought I did. And then when he called me, I was still like, well, we ain't deal with this and we ain't deal with that. And then after we'd spoken, I hung up the phone. After a few weeks and my soul was settled, then it's like the Holy Spirit came back and said, you really got to let it go. Yes, whatever happened, but it's going to hurt you too. It's hurting you more than it will hurt him.
Yeah.
So it's best for you to let it go. And I just trust God and I let it go. And when I let it go, some people talk about forgiveness, but when you could forgive people, when you think that they've wronged you, because I put it like that because he didn't think he did anything wrong. Mm-hmm. But in my mind, I felt like I was wronged. So me being the person who was holding back the forgiveness, I wasn't comfortable with the way things were, but at the same time, I know that we had to either bring closure to the situation, and I know I had to move on, because unforgiveness is not a good thing. Mm-hmm. Holding people, it ain't a good thing. And every time the name comes up, when we don't forgive, we tend to get hostile. And so I didn't like that part of it. And so I was glad when Ray and I spoke, and he told me how he felt. And then I got a call from Empress one day, and she was like, listen, she told me, and I can say this on air, she was like, I know what's happening. But she said she also is affiliated with the shows, and she was actually the person who brought Les back into doing what he's doing. And she said to me, now I don't know what went down, that was years ago, that's before my time. She was like, but really and truly, she said, the Holy Spirit rested so strong. And she started to tell me how she was in this meeting with Les and some other persons, and she just couldn't hold it in anymore. And she said, I have something to say. And they were like, well, say what you got to say. And she said she didn't know how to say it because she didn't know how he was going to respond. And she just let it out. And she said, I can be real. You can't have a best of the best and the best ain't on it. That was what she said to him. And he asked her what she was talking about. She said, you can't have a best of the best, and Sweet Emily is not on the best of the best. She is the best. And especially as a female, she's one of the best in this country, and I think she need to be on the show. Do whatever you all got to do to get her on the show. But don't let there be another best of the best, and she's not on it. And that's where the real conversation started. And when she told me that, it was almost like it brought tears to my eyes because I knew that God had already told me to let it go. So her coming back now with the confirmation, that is what sealed the deal for me. And I be honest with you, when you let things go, you know when you let it go, because the peace that comes along with that forgiveness, like from that day to this, it's like nothing ever happened to me in Turnquest. It's like I let it go, like God just took that bitterness and the anger that I would feel and the disappointment, whatever I was feeling. Truly, it helps to forgive people. And that's why when I was introduced on the last show, which was KB and Friends, she said, she introduced me on the show, and she introduced when I was coming on the stage, and she said, some of y'all ain't gonna understand. And she sounded like she was ready to cry, but she said, y'all don't understand. This lady, this is what you call forgiveness. This is when you see the word of God in action, to know a story, and to see her here today on this show, y'all don't know. Because they know it was a work in progress to get me to that place. And so I thank her for her obedience to God and saying what she said. And Turnquest and I, we hit it right off. I just run up in Checkers one morning, and he was there. And he said, come here, Emily. And I just ran over there like nothing ever happened. And we spoke, and he said, you're going to be on the next show, and we could talk and whatever. And that was the beginning of a new form of relationship between Mr. Turnquest and myself.
We could sign off. You ain't gonna say nothing else.
You look like
we go to the end of the show. That's it. That was a story.
Yeah, but it is powerful. And
I am grateful that you are at that place, and to have you on that stage and being honored. They're right. You cannot have the best of the best. You cannot have a Legends concert without Sweet Emily.
Amen.
And I could say that. All right. Well, listen, I could throw all the rest of the questions. we could go on.
No, man, let's do
it. Would you say that Rake and Scrape is seeing a resurgence? Is it coming back?
Oh, yeah. I mean, evidence is there. I've been in the business now 42 years. I've been performing. I was the first female historically doing what we do. When it was KB, it was only 4 solo artists. When I came in, it was KB, Chino, Funky D, and Ira Store. They had the spine band, but they could work solo. I came in as the female, so I was the peas in the rice. Mm-hmm. And there was no other female who was doing in the form of a Rake and Scrape or John Canoe album, and I was the first one. So when I came in, I got that opportunity to work along with the guys and travel with them. And then Ronnie Butler and I, years later, we did our duo, and the rest is history. And so for me, this show is not only historical, but I think it's needed, because I remember times when, back in the Ronnie days, when we used to do shows, and even prior to that, it was a struggle to get 200 people to a Bahamian show. Mm-hmm. Believe that. People who just coming around, I think it was always like this.
Nope.
It used to be a struggle, and I never understood. I knew Bahamian people loved it and they appreciated it, but it was difficult to have a real Bahamian show. I thought it was just a few of us to pull a show. You couldn't do it by yourself. That's even worse. But when you see a show like what is happening today in Legends, which is the first, because we've never had a show like this before, I would say Rake and Scrape. I tell people Rake and Scrape going to the world. We've been telling it for years, but it is
what
to
happened,
the world.
Though? What happened? Where could you point out?
Yeah, I think for me, what happened too is, even though when we say Rake and Scrape, we talking about Bahamian music in general, because we mix in Rake and Scrape with John Canoe, we tie it in somehow, right? But I think what happened is when you had those same 4 persons, KB, Chino, Funky D, Iris, or Sweet Emily, then Therese came. Mm-hmm. There was Nita 1st, then Therese, then Spice. Then you saw the females coming. And then I left the scene and took a sabbatical because I was just doing gospel and stuff of that for a time. But then you saw in the church, it started to be a surgence in the church where church artists or persons in the church, musicians in the church started playing the Rake and Scrape to the gospel music. So when you have all of this going on, there only can be a resurgence, or there can only be a bomb, because at the end of the day, there was a continuance. And even person who continued doing it consistently over the years, and then technology came in where other bands started getting it, because younger persons started to gravitate toward it because it sounded better to them.
Yeah.
Because, you know, back in the day, yes, you had a lot of good music, but, you know, we still didn't have, some of the music wasn't up to par. But I think now,
dance to it.
Yeah, oh Lord. I mean, to me, the only person I could dance to was Ronnie. I always liked Ronnie, but a lot of it, for real, you couldn't dance to it. So I believe the continuance and the consistency in those of us who started it off and those of us who continued it on, and now others are picking it up. It happens. It just happens when there's a consistency. And so over the years, Rake and Scrape, Bahamian music now is on a high, and I believe it's going to go higher. It's going to go higher.
What advice do you give to up and coming artists, especially female artists who want who want to or are just breaking into the industry?
The female aspect of the business is a little more difficult when you look at it from a female aspect. I say that because females bring something different. When people come to see Bahamian, we know how we go, right? Bahamian people love Bahamian music, but when a female hit the stage, it's more scrutiny. KB and D-Mac, them get bust up on the stage with tennis on, short pants. I saw some Bahamian artists on the big chain, them one little regular Nike t-shirt, and sometimes they pants halfway up the hip, and they with some tennis on, and they checking up and down, they just drunk and they singing, right? But then if I try that,
oh no,
because the minute they say Sweet Emily coming on the stage, or there's a female on the stage, then everybody kind of like, okay now.
Yeah.
First of all, the females can be looking, let me see what she got on. They looking at your shoes, they looking at your hair to make sure. I think for Bahamian women, it's not that they're ready to criticize you. It's more of a, let me see how she can represent us.
Yes, I think you're onto something.
And I've been always that female who you ain't never see me on stage naked. You ain't gonna never see me on stage where everything's showing. You ain't gonna see that from Sweet Emily. I've never been, and that ain't nothing to do with Christianity. I just always believe that you should present yourself in a certain way. And some people tend to say, well, why you wear so much clothes? You know, I get them on a long shirt and a tights and boots, and they look at that as a lot of clothes. But you look at some of the reggae artists, they got in the church and they on the stage with all kind of trumpet skirting thing on. I look at Queen Omega and I hear tie up. But it's how you present yourself. And so for me, I always try to be a trendsetter. I always try to set the trend. I say you got to look like me and dress the way I dress, but I believe I'm a standard. I set the standard because I've always been the standard setter. And so when you see me on the stage, you know when Sweet Emily coming on, I can represent. And because I say that too because you have a lot of Christians in this country who enjoy Bahamian music.
Yes, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Right. Yeah. But if you coming over and they see you and you coming out naked and you can see how you. Yeah. I can be real, all your bread shape and all your bobby out and all the curves and all your cheek out and you're just looking nasty, then they can be like, see, that's why, you know, so Jerome, I know, oh Lord, I just say it the way it is, but I always admonish female artists. The standard for us is higher. It is higher because we are women. Why? Because all the men who come in to see you, they got a sister.
Yes.
They got a mother. And they don't want to see their daughters or their mothers and their sisters and their Grammys represented. I'm also a grandmother. I have 3 grandchildren. So when I get on the stage, I don't want 30, 40 years from now when my daughter start up and cheering, her children say, well, Jesus, my Grammys.
Yeah.
Like young people. So,
understood. Listen, this has been such a conversation. I got to offer what I wanted to talk about, but this has been so good. So, before the final question, what are you working on currently? Anything new?
Yeah, I'm always working. Right. I think I'm one of the hardest, if not the hardest, female worker in this business. I came back in 2018, 2019, right before COVID, and I've already pushed out 50 songs. People are always asking when you're doing a new song because obviously they ain't checking out YouTube. But I just completed another song. I do at least 2 or 3 songs a year. So I've done a song now called You Swing Me Again. And so for some reason, I don't know if it's just the timing, but some people are looking at it more, PLP talking to the F&M talking to the PLP, and, you know, we getting swinged by the politicians, while others look at it as what it is. Mm-hmm. It's really a song that's talking about relational issues where you're getting swinged by a man, you're getting swinged by a woman, and you could be getting swinged in many different ways. You're getting swinged for your money and your things.
Yeah.
So it's a good song. People seem to be gravitating toward it. So
all right.
That's what I'm doing.
All right. So those who want to come out to see the legend, tell them where they can see you.
They can see us at the farm, Marshall Road. The show's going to start 8 p.m. promptly. And if you come around 10:30, you're going to miss Sweet Emily because I'm on the first part of the show.
All right.
So come in, get your tickets, get in early. So parking is there, but you don't have to park so far. If you're a person who want to get in and you don't like the frustration of the traffic, get there early. The farm, Marshall Road, 8 p.m.
8 p.m.
Saturday coming, May 10th.
All right, looking forward to it. Listen, we got to get you back to talk about so much things I talk about.
Anytime.
My mom used to say, boy, so much things to talk. But anyhow, always good to see you. You are representing well. You continue to make us proud. I want you all to know we go way back. I mean way back.
And I appreciate you doing it, Jerome. I just want to say this quickly. I remember when you got the call, I knew, you didn't know I knew, but I knew when you got the call about the Jazz in the Gardens, the person came back and told me they spoke to you and you made sure that your team was there, and I appreciate that.
Because that was
the first time I ever performed, I wouldn't say internationally out of the country, but that was the biggest show I've ever done in my life. And I was grateful for R News. I was grateful to your station and you putting people on to make sure the persons for them will be represented. You were represented left,
anywhere
right, and center.
I will represent.
I appreciate you for that.
And I thank you for representing us well.
Thank you.
All right, you continue. We can talk again soon.
Yes.
All right. What an honor it's been tonight sharing this space with three living legends. The Legends of Rake and Scrape event is a cultural celebration of voices that shaped us, and the art is still pushing our sound forward. Be sure to support them in person on Saturday, May 10th at the farm on Marshall Road. It'll be a night of music and memories. Thank you to our guests, KB, D-Mac, and of course, Sweet Emily. And thank you to our audience for watching. Once again, I'm your host, Jerome Sawyer. We'll see you next time right here on The Record.